Buckhead. Let's move over into Atlanta, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently, there was some crime happening in the middle of the night that I need to alert you guys on. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Big notification. I'm going to read that shortly. Thank you, my friend.
Update on the breaking news that we're following out of Buckhead, where 3 people are dead and a 4th man is being treated at Grady Hospital.
Atlanta police saying this happened all because of illegal drug activity that turned violent. The shooting happening at a high-rise apartment building off of Peachtree Road around 7 this evening.
And our Atlanta News First reporter, Asia Wilson, is live there now. Asia, what can you tell us?
Well, first off, I can tell you that this is all happening in a heavily populated area. But tonight, Atlanta police telling us that the shooting happened at an apartment unit inside right here. They say that what they know so far is that some type of drug transaction that was taking place inside of an apartment. While that transaction was going on, it escalated to gunfire, resulting to 3 people dying. Atlanta police say, again, they believe that at least a couple of the individuals lived in this location. They believe all of those involved are in their 20s. Right now, they say they're not looking for anyone, adding that this was all contained to one unit inside of an apartment on the 11th floor. Take a listen.
I thought that Buckhead was actually a nice area. Somebody give me an update. I thought that Buckhead was a really, really nice area. It's only one of 3 situations that could have happened in this scenario. Y'all want to know what they are? All right. I'm in a unique space where I've grown up in the city of Detroit, and so I'm intimately familiar with what happens in a lot of these transactions. One of the reasons why I was never, ever, not that I ever would have in the first place. You like that? Shout out to you. I'm going to read that super chat shortly. Not that I ever would have in the first place, but it's only one of 3 situations that could have happened in this situation, all right? The first one was it's a deal gone bad, meaning that one of either 2 parties was trying to do the other one dirty. That's the first one, right? The second one was somebody tried to short somebody, or they tried to give them some bad work, right? You tried to give them some baking soda when they was really looking for something else. The third thing is that the person that was trying to get it didn't have what it is that they was offering, and so somebody didn't trust anybody. Or the fourth situation is it was just a straight up robbery gone wrong. It was a robbery gone wrong. It was a setup. It was a robbery. And I just think that it is the dumbest game for anybody to get in. I never understood the dope game ever. I never understood the dope game. And the reason that I never understood the dope game, even if you wanted to go into trees, heroin, whatever it was never ever enticing to me, because when I did the breakdown and I tried to understand why people was getting into the dope game in the first place, well, of course it was to make money. But A, the people at the bottom that had to work their way up, they was never smart enough. Well, I'm going to get into that in a minute. Let me play the rest of the story, and then I'll give you all my thoughts.
Listen at exactly what happened.
So no, this is the first incident, obviously, of this magnitude that we've been out here for. And again, it's a result of illegal drug activity turning into violence. So this wasn't like a home invasion type scenario. We believe that the perpetrators were invited in for that drug exchange.
Yep. Everybody was on camera and everything.
Now, again, many people have been walking in and out of this building and even walking on the sidewalks, asking questions, shocked and surprised because of the many shops and restaurants in this area. Right now, Atlanta police asking anyone with tips or information that could help prevent incidents like this to come their way. It's important to note that all of the people involved in this incident, again, it was contained in one unit. They don't believe that there are no harm out there for anyone else. For now, we're live in Buckhead. Asia Wilson, Atlanta News First.
Let me play it from a different perspective, from a completely different news agency, and then I'm gonna give you all my thoughts on why, if you in the drug game, you thinking about getting into the drug game, or your children is into the drug game, let me sell you on why it's the dumbest decision that you could have ever heard of in your entire life. All right?
All right, Asia, at least there's no...
Atlanta police calling it a drug deal gone wrong. This all happening near Buckhead Village. It's a very busy area, especially for a Saturday night.
He got on eyeliner? Ain't this the guy that was doing another news thing for me before on the previous one where I was trying to figure out some stuff? Let me see something. Let me blow this up a little bit. Can't hide. You can't hide, big dog. You can't hide it. Let's continue.
Fox 5's Eric Smock is live for us tonight. Eric, what are you learning?
Atlanta police tell us this was, in fact, a drug deal that turned deadly, killing 3 people, putting 1 in the hospital. And they're telling us that 4 people were involved in this deal on the 11th floor of this building, these apartments, 3005
Only 1 walked out.
Buckhead, and they were all involved in this drug deal. Major Peter Malecki with APD tells us they got the call of multiple people shot at around 6:45. Major Malecki says there's evidence that shows there was some sort of transaction going on with likely involving marijuana. When the transaction went south and the people in that apartment shot at each other.
It was some type of drug transaction that was taking place inside the apartment.
Y'all killing each other over trees.
While that transaction was going on, it escalated to gunfire, resulting in the exchange of gunfire and ultimately costing 3 individuals their lives.
So only 1 person walked out alive.
Now, Malecki says the only surviving victim was taken to Grady Hospital and is expected to survive.
And he's going to say it was in self-defense.
They recovered handguns at the scene, but they're still investigating to see if any other weapons were used. And unfortunately, he says this is not uncommon for drug deals like this to turn into deadly shootouts. Now, Major Malecki said that all the people that were involved in this violence have been accounted for in the apartment, so they're not looking for anyone, and there isn't any ongoing threats to the residents in the building or the shoppers in this area. And they also said none of the bullets went through the walls, and all the gunfire was contained in that apartment, so there wasn't any kind of collateral damage. We'll continue to keep you updated, though, on this.
Let me tell you why it makes no sense for anybody to get into the drug game, fam. I'm going to tell you why. Or I'm going to at least give it to you from my limited perspective based off of the fact that I grew up in the inner city of Detroit, and I've seen so many different people fall off, die, go to jail, so on and so forth. And a lot of us are familiar with this because we either grew up in the hood, been in the projects, know somebody, part of your family, or whatever, right? The number one reason for me as I was growing up, right? And of course, you got your rappers and the people in the hood, and you see them or whatever, so on and so forth. And I've always started to try to figure it out. And, I knew what the price is of an ounce, a quarter kilo, a pound, right? And then you breaking it down, right? And when you're starting at the bottom, especially when you're younger and you get your little half ounce or you get your ounce and then you break them down, right? And I started doing the math because my homegirl, rest in peace to her, some of you, especially Kojak, may know my homegirl, Bree. So Brianna was somebody that was really, really close to me, and she wound up at some point in her life taking her life. But shout out to Brianna, rest in peace, and then God bless your family. But Brianna was very, very close to me, and Brianna knew a lot of people, or she was very, very much connected with different people that was doing a lot of things. And so the game was the game, and the thing that we started to break down when she started to bring me into certain spaces was the math just didn't make sense financially to me, especially starting at the bottom. The math didn't make sense financially to me starting at the bottom. Because when you start to actually take into consideration how much money they were making, especially if you got it on consignment, and a lot of people not even familiar with these terms. So let me break it down for you. Just from a C student's perspective, in a general sense, consignment is that you don't have the money or you're not willing to put the money in, you know what I'm saying, in order to get your own work. And so when you get it on consignment, the person that's giving you the stuff want their money back. You got to take care of them business, high-end sales, got to already have your clientele, got to be moving at work in order to then pay the plug back, and then you keep the difference of whatever it is that they price was, right? So they want you out there working, and then they give it to you on consignment. So basically they giving you the product, you go sell it, you need to move it by a certain time because homie want his money back. He want his lick back, right? Big Worm gave his stuff to Smokey. Smokey was smoking it instead of selling it, and Big Worm wanted his money back, right? This is the Millionaire Morning Show, Brittany. We gotta break it down, and we're going to look at everything. Everything comes back down to the money, right? But then let's just say, for example, you got the upfront money. You was able to get your money up front, so whatever product that you picking up, you getting it, right? And let's say you don't have that pressure of being able to reinvest, because even if you get it on consignment, the goal shouldn't be to make money so that you can spend money. It's the same thing that applies to how it is that we doing it today. And I'm going to tell you why this makes sense and why it's so important for us to have this conversation, because a lot of people are enticed by the streets and these music and all of this, but it doesn't make sense, and the same principles apply across the board, right? It's getting fronted. You're right. Shout out to Be Our Golden Boy. But here's the goal. And again, I'm going to break it down to you from my young mind of why it never made sense, even though I was never interested in it in the first place. But I had to get some understanding. So let's say you get it on consignment, and let's say you keep the difference and you make some money from whatever the plug was giving it to you. The goal is to eventually get off a consignment, so you still got to stack your money, meaning that you eventually want to get to the point to where you buying your own product, so you ain't got to worry about getting fronted. Because if anything ever happens, if the cops kick in your door, if they discover your stash, if you get robbed or anything like that, you don't want to still owe the plug money, because you got to pay that back. You got to pay that back, and you going to pay that back, because the one thing that the plug know, if you the dude that's slanging, or you the plug, so let's say you the dude that's selling the drugs, or you the plug that then supplied whoever it is that's moving to work on the streets, the one thing that you know and you can't tolerate is anybody robbing you. Which then means, and now you see how it's starting to compound, which then means now you got to do something, or you got to make an example of somebody, because you don't know if they really lying or not about whether or not they robbed you. And even if they did, it can't get out that you giving a pass, because then you become food, and then everybody got permission to rob you because they know you ain't going to do nothing about it. At some point, you have to inflict some violence on somebody as a person that is a part of the game, and you cannot just be a casual mover and shaker. You got to risk your freedom. You got to make sure you pay your plug back if you're getting it on consignment or you getting fronted to work. You got to make examples of people that they can't come in and rob you. You always got people looking at you and studying your movements to try to understand where you're coming and going, because they know that you can't go to the police if they hit you up, which means that you then have to invest in yourself, and you got to sleep with one eye open, and you can't even have to work where you live at, because that's the number one rule. It's a no, never, ever, ever sleep where you play at. Never, ever. That's number one. Number two, never use the work. And now we got dudes that's smoking it just as much as they selling it. And so many different factors. And then here's the number one thing. When you do the math and you start to break it down, especially at the lower levels, a lot of these dudes, based off of how much time that they putting into it, they not even making minimum wage. A lot of these guys are putting their lives on the line. They getting felonies. They getting misdemeanors. They ain't got no bail money to be able to get out of jail. They trying to go out here and shake it and move it and all of this other type of stuff. And guess what? Most of them go to jail at some point. If you don't get out of the game, eventually you're going to get hit and you might die. And then on top of that, they not even making minimum wage at the bottom end of the rung. That's a fact, though. You better off going to get a job at the McDonald's that was down the street, which is exactly what I told a lot of my friends to do when they went and did it. And most of these guys ain't even getting the amount of money, and they be out there in the cold, snow. You got dudes coming in and out. You don't know who he is. You don't know if you go to re-up that this dude is not actually going to rob you and take your money instead of actually giving you you don't know nothing. You don't know nothing. Now you got to get a jailhouse lawyer, and you got this dude with some slip-ons that's just telling you to plead guilty, and now you got a felony and misdemeanor on your record, and you can't even get a job when you decide that you want it to go straight. Now, what type of life is that? That you got to be in a trap. You got to be in a crack house on a regular basis. You risking your freedom. You risking your life. Possibly getting robbed. Got to pay the plug back. Making sure that you got all of this pressure on you. Crackheads all want it for something, or give me a little taste of it. Hey, man, I'm going to get you back, and all of this other type of stuff. You got to keep your stash separate from what it is, and you got to do handoffs separately, right? So let me give you the game. You can't keep your stash on you, but then you can't keep dudes around you that know where your stash at. So you got to switch your stash up on a regular basis, because first you got to get the money and then you got to go and get the stash, because you can't keep the stash on you because it may be an undercover or the Ray-Ban may be coming and you don't want them to go out here and arrest you because you got a bunch of work on you. So now you got to keep your stash separate. Man, that is no life to live. That is not a Ray-Ban coming down the street. They watching you. They got your mama on the tap. Anything that you buy, if you start to level up and you didn't get caught, when they finally catch you, they can take all of your stuff because they can say it was all bought with drug money. And then if you get big enough and you don't get out the game in time, they can get you for tax evasion. It's crazy. And you can't miss. And that's the worst part about it. You can't miss. Yeah, you got that pillow talk, missed a lot. Women around you, can't trust them. Set it up. You can't miss one time. They can miss 100 times, but you can't miss once. You do, it's up. It's up from there. And this just don't make sense, fam. It don't make sense. It don't make sense for anybody to want to live a part of this lifestyle. It is dark. It is cold. It's lonely. It's a lot of cooking up. It's a lot of trust issues. It's a lot of people that's going to get hurt as a result of it. And you ruining your community at the same time. I'd rather just go get a job, bro. Get some benefits. Go to school. It ain't worth it, bro. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. Stay out of the streets. Listen. I know your son, your homie, a lot of y'all is out here in the trap. You listening to the Millionaire Morning Show. Let me tell you something, bro. I don't know if anybody has explained it to you like this from a business perspective. Everything you do, relationships, the curriculum that you go into school, and whether or not you want to get into the drug game, trust me, you have to look at it from a business perspective. It's a lose-lose situation. There's nothing good that can come from it. And you not getting that felony expunged from your record. I'm telling you. They make it sound beautiful in the lyrics. They want to entice you with it and all of this other type of stuff. You got one shot, bro. And you ain't even really get. Y'all want to talk about people protesting? The dope boys need a union if that's the case. Because they the ones that's out here getting killed by inflation. They're the ones that's out here getting killed by inflation. Y'all making nothing and you risking everything for nothing. You risking everything for nothing. And you getting middleman too. And the price of the brick is going up. Let me get on off this. Shout out to Atlanta. I just want to help you to understand something. If you ain't never gave this to your homeboy or you know a homeboy that's doing, let me break it down to him from a business perspective. Maybe he'll see it a little bit differently because y'all getting finessed out here in these streets.